Stories Philippines podcast.
A hush settles over the city before the first light of December. The air is sharp, edged with wood smoke and the faint, sweet scent of bibinka drifting from makeshift stalls outside churches. In the shadows, families huddle beneath brittle tarpaulins, their eyes shining with hope and hunger. Children run barefoot on cold concrete, weaving between paroles that flicker like promises, their laughter barely masking the low ache of empty stomachs. No one speaks of the shadows that gather at the edges of the Simbang Gabi crowds, nor of the nights when the city's relentless cheer seems to taunt those with nothing left to celebrate. What does it mean to rejoice when the world feels indifferent to your suffering? Why do some see Christmas as a time of miracles, while others live with ghosts that hunger for more than food? These are the questions that haunt the season, lurking beneath the surface of every carol and every feast. Tonight, we walk the thin line between celebration and survival, where the forgotten dead and the desperate living share the same cold breath. A darkness permeates this episode, touching on scenes and themes some may find deeply unsettling. Listener caution is strongly recommended. I am Jessica, and you're listening to Stories Philippines podcast. This is Season 4, Episode 11, The Feast of the Forgotten. Before we begin, I invite you to share your own unexplained encounters and family legends. Send your stories to our email at stories.phpodcast@gmail.com. You can also find show notes and support options in the description. Unlock exclusive content by joining us on Patreon. And for daily folklore facts, make sure to follow our social media pages. The season of Simbang Gabi stands at the threshold of hope and hardship. For centuries, Filipinos have gathered in the chill of early dawn to attend 9 days of Mass, believing that completion of this novena will grant wishes and protection for the year to come. The streets pulse with anticipation. Vendors hawking hot puto bumbong, laughter echoing against candlelit walls, and the familiar strains of carols weaving through the night air. The cold air catches the throat, a reminder of the hours before the sun fully crests the horizon. Yet, behind the glow of lanterns and the comfort of tradition, there is another world, one that emerges only when the crowds thin and the music fades. In the heart of Manila, the contrast is impossible to ignore. The city erupts in color, paroles hanging from crumbling eaves, makeshift Christmas trees fashioned from discarded bottles, and neon signs flickering against the December sky. The sound is a constant low roar, a blend of distant traffic, amplified carols, and the chatter of countless people seeking warmth and fellowship. But just beyond the reach of these lights, families crowd into shanties pieced together from plywood and rusted iron. Here, the scent of Christmas is not lechon or hamon, but wood smoke, sweat, and the persistent gnawing smell of hunger. The ground beneath their thin sandals is cold, damp concrete, a chill that seems to creep into the bones. It is in these margins that the stories of the season take on a different shape. Ghosts, they say, are drawn to places where joy is loudest and longing is deepest. During the holidays, when the living celebrate abundance, the forgotten dead crowd the shadows, desperate for a taste of what they once had. They are the multo without offerings, the ancestors whose names are no longer whispered. One story, submitted by a listener we will call Demetrio from Tondo, tells of a December night when her family gathered for Noche Buena with little more than rice and a single salted egg. The shadows in their small room seemed thicker than usual, pressing in from the unlit corners. As they shared their meager meal, she noticed a figure standing just inside the doorway.
A thin woman with hollow eyes and a torn, faded dress, her hair matted as if from perpetual rain. The woman's skin was the color of old cement. Demetrio felt a shiver, not of cold, but of profound, aching sorrow. No one else seemed to see her, though the room grew inexplicably cold and silent, the quiet so heavy it felt like a blanket thrown over their celebration. The woman stared at their small, humble feast with an intensity that made the rice feel like a treasure. After the meal, the family found inexplicable wet footprints leading away from the table, vanishing into the dry, dusty street. That night, her younger brother fell ill, his fever high, whispering deliriously about a hungry lady who asked for food, her voice like dry leaves scraping pavement. The family now leaves a plate of rice by the door each Christmas Eve, a tradition of fear and charity, hoping to appease the spirits of those who have nothing. Stories like this echo across the country, rooted in a deep cultural belief that the spiritual world is closest during times of great emotional intensity, times of celebration and sorrow. In the ancient land, long before the Spanish galleons arrived, the Philippines was a landscape of animists, where every tree, every gnarled balete root, every river and every stone was believed to house a diwata or a spirit. The air itself was thick with invisible presence. The arrival of Spanish missionaries brought Catholic rituals, magnificent stone churches, and the solemnity of the Novena Mass, but the old beliefs persisted. They were not defeated, but absorbed, woven into the very fabric of the new traditions. Simbang Gabi itself is a testament to this synthesis, a Christian novena held at dawn when, according to older lore, the veil between worlds is thinnest, and the dead may walk among the living. The dawn mass is a sacred shield against the lingering dark. The concept of hungry ghosts is not unique to the Philippines, which suggests a shared, primal understanding of death and unfulfilled desire across continents. In Chinese tradition, the Hungry Ghost Festival honors spirits who died with unfulfilled desires or without proper rites, believed to wander the world seeking sustenance. In Mexico, the Day of the Dead is a festive remembrance, but it acknowledges the temporary return of the departed to feed on the essence of the offerings left for them. In the Philippines, these spirits are known by many names: Mumu, Multo, or simply the Forgotten. During Christmas, when feasts are laid and laughter fills the air, it is said that the spirits gather, drawn by the warmth, the light, and the aroma of food they once knew. They watch the children play, feeling the acute, cold sting of a life cut short or a need never met. But not all spirits are content to watch from the periphery. Some, more volatile and ancient, are drawn to the confusion and desperation of the season. One such entity is the tikbalang, a creature of paradox, half human, half horse, towering over mortals with its long, spindly limbs and burning eyes the color of embers. The stench of its presence is said to be like damp earth and strong tobacco. It is a trickster, a guardian of crossroads and forgotten paths, its existence a constant warping of reality. In some stories, it is a tormentor of those who stray too far from the light, its main purpose to lead the lost further into despair.
A young man named Carlo, a recent listener submission, shared his story of encountering a tikbalang during Simbang Gabi. He was walking home after the 9-day novena's final mass, the streets nearly empty, the sound of his own footsteps echoing back at him. His mind was heavy with worry over his family's debt and the scarcity of work in the coming year, a weight that pressed down on his chest. As he passed beneath a cluster of old dying lanterns, their light struggling against the gloom, he heard the sound of hooves on wet pavement. It was a strange, rhythmic clop, clop, clop. At first, he rationalized it as a stray horse from the nearby market, but the footsteps were wrong. Too deliberate, too slow, and impossibly heavy. He turned quickly and saw a figure, impossibly tall, standing at the end of the alley.
It was at least 10 feet high. Its face was utterly lost in shadow, shielded by a mane of thick hair, but the glint of its impossibly large yellowed teeth caught the weak lantern light. Carlo ran, his feet pounding on the cold street, his breath ragged. He fled through twisting streets that seemed to shift and fold around him, an impossible maze opening up where there were once straight roads. No matter which way he turned, the tikbalang was always just behind, its mocking, whinnying laughter echoing through the cold, empty spaces between the houses. It was a sound that scraped against the soul. It was only when he reached his family's doorstep, clutching the small, worn rosary he always carried and whispering hurried, desperate prayers, that the creature's shadow retreated and the laughter ceased. Later, his grandmother, a woman whose knowledge of the old ways was deep, told him that the tikbalang feeds on spiritual unrest and confusion. It is drawn to those who carry heavy burdens during the holidays, those whose hope is on the verge of breaking. Why does Christmas, a time meant for peace and joy, draw forth so much darkness? Some indigenous beliefs suggest that the heightened, intense emotions of the season, the manic surge of hope, the crushing weight of longing, the fresh wound of grief, create a palpable energy that attracts all manner of restless spirits. This emotional field acts as a beacon. Others believe that the rituals themselves, a blend of centuries of Catholic practice and ancient indigenous rites, inadvertently open doors best left closed, a necessary side effect of connecting with the powerful unseen. The city's oldest cemeteries, like La Loma and the sprawling Manila North Cemetery, are said to come alive with a quiet, spectral movement during the holidays. The air within their walls drops several degrees colder than the surrounding streets. Caretakers, men who have spent a lifetime among the dead, speak in hushed tones of shadowy figures glimpsed between the ornate marble gravestones, of children's laughter echoing from empty, sealed mausoleums, and of votive candles that flicker and dance long after the wind has completely died. In these places, the line between grief and celebration is razor thin. Families come to light candles for the dead, leaving offerings of small portions of lechon or a favorite liquor, hoping to bridge the gap between worlds and offer comfort. Yet there are always stories, of voices calling out names from the absolute darkness, of cold, impossibly heavy hands reaching out and brushing the living, of dreams haunted by faces long gone, standing too close. It is important to acknowledge that not every haunting is purely supernatural. The crushing, pervasive poverty that stalks the holidays in the city is its own enduring specter, a daily, tangible reminder of broken promises, systemic neglect, and dreams deferred. The fear of true want is a constant companion. In the weeks leading up to Christmas, news stories across the nation highlight the grotesque contrast between the lavish, glittering mall displays overflowing with consumer goods and the sight of families scavenging for scrap wood and plastic to build their own meager paroles. Charities set up feeding programs, and long lines form before dawn, but the need always outpaces the supply, a tide that cannot be held back. For many, the greatest, most visceral horror is not the ancient, hungry ghost at the door, but the cold, painful emptiness in the stomach and the despair within the heart. Anthropologists and social historians trace the origins of these beliefs back to a time before the Spanish conquest, when the people honored the spirits of their ancestors with generous food offerings, rhythmic song, and energetic dance. These rituals, known by various names across the islands, were meant to ensure prosperity and protection for the coming planting season. But they also served to powerfully acknowledge the thin, precarious line between abundance and loss, between living and dying. When the Spanish arrived in the 16th century, they brought their own powerful narratives, saints, martyrs, and the promise of salvation through a foreign god. The two traditions merged,
not always smoothly, creating a uniquely Filipino approach to the supernatural. One where devout faith and deep-seated fear not only coexist, but are constantly intertwined, feeding one another. Modern investigations into these holiday-specific stories are rare, as paranormal study often retreats during times of religious celebration. But those who do study the paranormal in the Philippines have noted an undeniable, observable spike in reported hauntings, unexplained phenomena, and dreams of the dead during the holiday season. Some analysts attribute this to the immense psychological stress of poverty, the acute pressure to provide a joyous holiday despite crushing lack, and the raw, overwhelming memories of loved ones lost in a season meant for togetherness. The sadness is amplified by the contrast of the public celebration. Other researchers point to the sensory overload of the season, the flashing lights, the constant loud music, the sleepless nights spent praying or worrying, as a catalyst for genuine but possibly naturally occurring unexplained phenomena and mass suggestion. Whatever the ultimate unprovable cause, the stories persist. They are whispered in the dark, passed from parent to child, neighbor to neighbor, each one a necessary, unsettling reminder of the raw, enduring power of cultural belief. The tikbalang, in particular, has become a potent, terrifying symbol of the dangers that lurk on the edges of both the physical and social world. In some very old, forgotten tales, it is not a malevolent demon but a capricious guardian, warning travelers away from paths that lead to ruin, paths of vice or irreversible bad fortune. In most modern accounts, however, it is a cunning predator, preying specifically on those who have nowhere else to turn, those whose backs are truly against the wall. During Christmas, when desperation is at its absolute peak, the tikbalang is said to wander the city's poorest, most neglected districts, searching for souls weighed down and made vulnerable by grief or debt. Those who encounter it are said to be marked by overwhelming confusion, long stretches of unexplainable lost time, and an overwhelming, debilitating sense of dread that lingers for days. The experience changes them, leaving a coldness in their center.
One such case comes from a listener we will call Mylene in Quezon City, who described a December night when her father, a hardworking jeepney driver, failed to return home after his last route. He had been due back at 11 o'clock. The family searched the familiar streets for hours, calling his name, their voices growing hoarse with terror. They found only a faint, inexplicable trail of oversized, cloven hoof prints pressed into the wet mud just outside their home. When he appeared, staggering back at dawn, he was profoundly shaken and could not speak clearly. He was silent for 2 days, unable to explain where he had been or how he got home. Only later, when he was recovering from a debilitating cold, did he whisper of a tall, impossibly shadowy figure that led him in maddening circles through the same 10-block radius of the city, repeating the promise of warmth and enough food to feed his family, if he would only follow completely and forever. He returned with nothing but the faint smell of sulfur on his clothes and a lingering, intense coldness in his heart that would not lift for days, a coldness that seemed to have been placed there by the creature. These stories are not told merely to frighten or entertain. They are intended to warn. They remind us that the holiday season is a time of heightened vulnerability, a period when joy and sorrow walk hand in hand, often in the same body. The ghosts of Christmas in the Philippines are not always the classic malevolent specters. Some are simply hungry, yearning for the lost comfort of home and the warmth of a family they can no longer touch. But others, like the predatory tikbalang, feed on pure despair, thriving in the marginal, forgotten spaces where hope has been allowed to run thin and the social contract has been broken. In the backstreets of the sprawling city,
beneath the flickering lights of the cheap paroles. A different, essential kind of feast takes place each December. Families gather around borrowed candles, sharing what little rice, canned meat, or meager treats they have with both the living and the acknowledged dead. Small plates of hot rice are carefully left on windowsills. Cups of clean water are placed beside doorways, and silent, simple prayers are whispered for those who have absolutely nothing and no one to remember them. In these small, sacred moments of shared scarcity, the boundaries between the living world and the other side blur momentarily, and the forgotten find a temporary, acknowledged place at the family table. It is an act of defiance against the indifference of the world.
It is in these simple, powerful acts of remembrance and sharing that the true, enduring spirit of Christmas, the one predating the commercial boom, endures. The modern rituals may change, the specifics of the folklore may subtly shift from one generation to the next, but the primal human impulse to honor the lost and care for the living remains. Through devastating hardship and gnawing hunger, through deep-seated fear and unwavering ancient faith, the Filipinos endure. They continue, year after year, finding a necessary small light in the all-encompassing darkness, and a stubborn, necessary hope in the unforgiving face of despair. As the final scratchy notes of a radio carol fade into the cold night, and the city settles into its uneasy, temporary sleep, one question lingers, heavy and cold in the air. What do we owe to the forgotten? Is it truly enough to remember them once a year? To leave a symbolic plate of rice by the door and simply hope that the hungry ghosts are satisfied for another year? Or does the season, with its intense focus on charity and light, demand something far more difficult? A fundamental commitment to truly see those who are invisible in the daylight, to share what we have not just with a neighbor, but with a stranger, and to carry the difficult, uncomfortable stories of the lost into the blinding light of the morning. If you have your own encounter with the unseen, or if your family keeps unique, powerful traditions to honor the forgotten during Christmas, please submit your story to our email at stories-phpodcast@gmail.com. For more tales of the strange and unexplained, find show notes and support options in the description, access exclusive content through our Patreon, and follow us for daily folklore facts on social media. Tonight, as you drift towards sleep, ask yourself, when the lanterns are all finally dim and the sudden loud laughter fades away, who remains standing at the edges of the feast? What shadows gather silently in the empty spaces left by absence? And what difficult, necessary debts are truly owed to those who hunger for more than just food? Sometimes the greatest hauntings come not from the ghosts we see, but from the lives we overlook and the needs we fail to meet. Listen to future and past episodes for more journeys into the unsettling realms of the unknown. Do not forget to like, subscribe, follow, and share this podcast. Support the podcast financially in ways you can find in the show notes. Thank you for joining me tonight. Until next time, may you always find light in the darkness, and may the forgotten never be truly lost.